the censorship question has been really challenging for people in new media who sort of made their names in new media on opposing Biden-era censorship when it came to COVID, BLM, trans issues, and the like. So what have we seen, because I know you followed it closely, when it comes to the Free Press and Bari Weiss's coverage of censorship and Israel just the last couple of years?
Well, unlike a lot of people on the right who are very flamboyantly pro-free speech and anti-censorship over the last 4 years, only to now so flagrantly abandon that and make clear that they don't care about that any longer because the censorship is now coming from their side. Bari's too conniving. Like, she's too, I guess I think it's better, like a less negative word. Like, maybe she's just too
Clever.
shrewd for that. You know, she's too strategic. She's not going to lay bare her hypocrisy that easily for people like me to just pick up and show it. She's much more subtle about it. So she can show you, and if she were here, she undoubtedly would, the like lone, isolated, once every 3 months article or editorial that the Free Press published, where they're like, I'm not really sure about whether this type of censorship against Israel critics is going too far. Maybe it is. So she'll say, look, I criticized it. But when you look at the intensity and the severity of censorship in the name of protecting Israel ushered by the Trump administration, talking about things like imposing expanded hate speech codes on college campuses to severely increase the amount of views that are prohibited when talking about Israel or Jews or Jewish students or Judaism in the name of stopping anti-Semitism, the amount of denunciation and coverage that it's gotten from the Free Press is minuscule compared to what it ought to be if she were really a genuine defender of free speech, or at least somebody unwilling to make an exception for the group and issue about which she cares most.
Yeah, you know, that's interestingly put, because I agree. I don't think she's been sort of flagrantly bad because the Free Press has been careful. And I actually hadn't really thought about that until now. They have been relatively careful in sort of framing a lot of this stuff as a debate. I'm just so curious to see how that seeps into the framing of news coverage, because CBS under Sherry Redstone, I mean, this is already a corporation that's been roughly in the exact same spot on Israel as Bari Weiss, except for Bari has actually been sort of shrewd enough, to borrow your word, to realize that people at least need what she might see as their vegetables handed to them in this vehicle of debate or this vehicle of independent expression or whatever. So it's such a strange turn of events, because I don't think there's any editorial difference, really. Maybe you disagree, between CBS before and after Bari.
Well, you know what's so funny? I see so many people saying, like, you know what, I'm happy that this is happening because I just want there to be some space for these views. And I'm like, oh, yes, absolutely. You know, the one thing that we all have to lament is that there has been absolutely no space in U.S. corporate media, people who love and support Israel. We've been suffocating under this monopoly of control by owners of media who are Arab and Muslim and pro-Palestinian. And finally, with the arrival of David Ellison and Bari Weiss, we're finally going to get some space, at least, for some pro-Israel perspectives for balance. And the funniest thing about this, you know, Emily, it's like everybody, and I've been thinking about this the last few days, like everybody believes, that the media is biased. But everybody also believes the media is biased against their own views. Nobody believes the media no one ever says the media is biased in favor of my views, because that's just truth. And it's amazing that there are really people who think the U.S. media is biased against Israel. So the current owner of CBS News, as you alluded to, is Sherry Redstone, who's the heir of Sumner Redstone, who bought Viacom and owned CBS, a multi-billionaire. And the reason she said she's selling Paramount is because she said after October 7th, the only thing she decided she cared about was loving and supporting Israel. And she no longer cares about managing a media company or, you know, journalism. She just wants to devote her life to Israel. Does that sound to you like somebody who oversaw an anti-Israel network? We're talking about 60 Minutes with Leslie Stahl and just Israel supporters. I remember one time he's
Al Jazeera,
CBS Morning News, that morning show with Gayle King, and was grilled by that.
Oh, by Tony DeCopel. Right.
Yeah, who's I think his wife is Israeli and he lived in Israel for a while. So the idea that CBS was previously some like anti-Zionist outlook or like pro-Hamas central is ridiculous. But I think that the idea that Bari Weiss has is that although she believes in sort of debate, she also believes that truth is the overarching value for journalism, and truth to her is supporting Israel, denying that there's famine in Gaza is the truth. She thinks this is what journalism is, and I have no doubt that's what she's going to impose there. Even though she won't think she's imposing it as an ideology, she'll think she's imposing it as journalism. That will be the outcome more explicitly than even under Sherry Redstone.
Okay, now, Glenn, I have to ask you about revelations from Senator Chuck Grassley tonight. I'm going to read from a Fox News story about these documents.
I'm not ready to stop talking about Bari Weiss. Are you sure we have to switch? All right, I'm ready. Go ahead.
No, I'm actually not either, because I think it's one of the most fascinating stories ever that you have this media startup ending as part. I just don't understand. You were saying this earlier. I don't understand why anybody would want to be a part of CBS, Paramount right now. It just seems completely insane to me, let alone as a journalist. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Go, feel free to.
No, but it's actually, now you've got me going, Glenn, because it's actually a very good point. David Ellison's Skydance merger with Paramount was funded by his father, Larry Ellison, as you mentioned. And Larry Ellison, they now want to merge Warner. They now want a seat on what is the 7-person TikTok board. This is an insane amount of power for any one family to have, let alone any one person to have. And I just can't imagine the mentality of a journalist who says, I trust that, which is what Bari alluded to today in her message. She said, I believe in the vision that they're bringing to the table. And just, again, as a journalist, this is my last point. Maybe you'll have thoughts on it, but I just cannot imagine that mentality, period.
I mean, the one thing I will say about Bari, though, is let's remember she got her start. She went to the Wall Street Journal. She went to the New York Times. That is already indicative of somebody who desires to be part of these prestige brands. She went to Columbia University, which is in the Ivy League. So it isn't like she had ever displayed this anti-establishment persona before. She kind of got driven out of the New York Times, stumbled into Substack, became a big success, and to her credit, I give her credit, built it. But on the one hand, it's until we're in the position where somebody's saying, hey, Emily, here's $150 million. I'm willing to buy your little YouTube show. And I'm also going to make you editor-in-chief of CBS News. You're going to run six. I don't think any of us are 100% certain we would say no if handed all that. But I am close to 100% certain that I would. I just think it's you have to be a little humble and realize until you're in that position, you don't know for sure. Because I know what that entails. But also, Emily, don't you feel like we're so lucky because we're in the realm that's vibrant and that's growing and that's free. And I look at people who are journalists or reporters for CBS News or ABC, and they're on television, but nobody knows them. Nobody cares about them. Nobody listens to their work. It makes no impact because no one trusts those things. No one watches those. There's no fans. There's no supporters. And it's Bari is leaving this flourishing forest for this decaying, dying sewer. Exactly. But, there's 150 million reasons she has to do it. And I guess on top of that, there's that title. And, it's prestige. And it seems like she's a person who values that.
Yeah, I mean, there's still this notion, I think, that if you are the right kind of outsider, quote, outsider, who speaks like an insider, dresses like an insider, knows the routine because you've been in these newsrooms before, you in some ways are still an insider, that you can go in and make change. And to me, that just, again, from the outside, if somebody offered me $150 million, I would probably projectile vomit onto them and start crying. That sounds horrible. But at the same time, I think she probably believes this is where I can be the most impactful, or that's, I guess, what you end up telling yourself.
But Emily, name one outsider view that Bari Weiss has, one dissident outsider view.
Well, it was, she had them at the time on, right, for example, COVID, Me now, Too.
Anti-woke is, the official position of the U.S. government.
Yes, that's right. Yes, there are many things that are now the official position of the U.S. government. Recently, I learned about colostrum. Have you learned about it? It is the very first milk known as liquid gold. If you listen to the show a lot, you probably thought I was going to say that in a Trump voice because I did it that way the first time and now I feel trapped. So I, pivoted there. But it's known as liquid gold that babies receive from their mothers after birth, packed with proteins, natural growth factors, antimicrobial peptides that work to enhance your immune response, reduce inflammation, repair, and balance gut lining, reduce bloating, and make your hair and skin look amazing. Today's sponsor, Cowboy Colostrum, offers the highest quality cow colostrum available in the U.S., 100% made in America from 100% American grass-fed cows. Don't you love that? They don't overprocess or strip their colostrum, leaving it whole, full fat, and high protein for ultimate nutrient density. It's the highest quality bovine colostrum you can buy. Highest quality bovine you can buy. Cowboy is easy to drink. It's great, made with natural, delicious ingredients and no artificial flavors. Simply add a 3-gram scoop of either their chocolate, Madagascar vanilla, or strawberry into your coffee or smoothie. Personally, I love the strawberry, and I love it with milk. So for a limited time, our listeners get up to 25% off their entire order. Just head to cowboycolostrum.com/afterparty and use code AFTERPARTY at checkout. That's 25% off when you use code AFTERPARTY at cowboycolostrum.com/afterparty. After you purchase, they will ask you where you heard about them. So please support our show and tell them our show sent you.